Hi, I'm Enzo.
And I'm Reyna.
And this is the Date Night Horror Show. I'm trying to stop myself from laughing every time you do that because I love when you do that. But I don't want people to get tired of it, and I don't want people to think that it's some fake thing that I'm doing.
It's my thing, or our thing.
I love it. I love it. So, Reyna, we have a change of plans.
Yes, we do.
So, at the end of the last episode, the sci-fi horror episode, I said that we were going to do vampires for this next episode. But after thinking about it, and after this particular movie came out, I really felt like we needed to be a little more current with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And in the horror community, the movie that everyone's talking about and everyone's wondering if they should go see is the 2019 remake of Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
Yes.
So, with that said, I thought, well, why don't we do our Stephen King episode this
Stephen
week?
King.
Yeah, and I know we're both huge fans, both of the books and the films, some of the films. So we're gonna take this episode to pay tribute to the man, the myth, the hero of horror for sure.
Yes.
The one and only Stephen King.
Woo!
Yay.
I love Stephen King.
So do you want to talk about kind of how you discovered Stephen King and your history with your love of Stephen King?
Yeah, I actually discovered Stephen King by my best friend at the time when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. It was Nicole. And she read The Stand.
Oh,
and
okay.
I remember we were walking from my house to her house because we live pretty close.
Uh-huh.
And she was telling me about, what The Stand was about. And it sounded so interesting and weird and good. So I was like, I love to read. I love to read books. So, and I was like really always trying to discover new books at the time as well. Right. So I was like, well, let me try it. And I remember I saw it and I was like, holy shit, this is a huge book.
Yeah, his books have always been really intimidating.
It was a huge book, but I read it.
Yeah.
And
you couldn't put it down.
From then to now, I've probably read it and reread it probably about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's one of my favorites of his, for sure. Yeah,
we're gonna go into our favorite books in a later segment. Mm-hmm. But for now, I just wanted to get your kind of.
But that was my introduction to who Stephen King was. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my sister was an avid reader, and growing up, she knew I always had a huge passion for horror, so she was trying to get me to read. Spoiler alert: that sister became a Teacher of the Year caliber teacher. So shout out to my sister Teresa. And she told me, you got to start reading these books because some of them are really scary. And I remember she turned me on to the Amityville Horror. Of course, it's not Stephen King. That was one of the first books I read. And then she also turned me on to The Shining. And when I saw the size of The Shining, it's like 2 Amityville Horrors. Like it's huge.
His books are big.
But yeah, I started reading and I just could not stop reading it. I had already seen the Shining film, and I think that helped me through because I really identified with Danny visually because I sort of looked like that little boy when I was a little boy. And just reading the Shining, I loved it. There's so many great moments in the Shining that are not that is not in the film. It's in the miniseries, but like the hedge animals, like all that stuff. There's all these metaphors with like beehives and things like that. Anyway, wasp hives. But yes, since then I started reading like the anthology books. To this day, I still read. I'm trying to keep up with some of the ones I missed. So yeah, we're both you and I are massive Stephen King fans, and he's to me the second most important horror writer since Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's pick our 5. Okay. Five each, our 5 favorite Stephen King adapted films.
Okay.
Which will give the listeners a total of 10, which is awesome. Okay, I'll let you start first.
Okay, cool. So the first one I chose was Apt Pupil.
Oh, yeah.
which is a novella by Stephen King. So it was a short story. But it's about a college student that's studying the Holocaust, and he discovers that a death camp criminal is hiding in America,
right.
in his town.
Yeah.
And so what he does is he calls him out, but says he won't rat him out if he teaches him everything that they don't teach in school.
Right.
But then he starts to get a little disturbed by it all because he's obsessed with the Holocaust.
The kid starts to go off the rails, right?
Right. He starts to go off the rails. And so, the Todd Bowden is the college kid. He's played by Brad Renfro. Ian McKellen plays the Nazi war criminal. David Schwimmer is even in it. Joshua Jackson, a bunch of other people. But I really liked it because I thought it was creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
You know, just to know that there's a death camp criminal that lives in your hood or in your town.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have the cojones to come and ask him any questions because I'd be kind of scared of him.
Yeah, it's like how some people have a morbid fascination with the Nazi regime and all that. I think what's interesting is that this kind of story probably happened in South America, where a lot of the Nazi war criminals did end up going. It's interesting to see it in your own backyard.
Yeah.
I remember it was a very tense film.
Very tense.
Yeah.
And you really, almost didn't know who was the screwed up one even. You know what I mean? Like who was between the kid and the...
And it's interesting because I think this is why Stephen King is so brilliant. Like he'll take something like mentorship. I mean, this is really an apprenticeship, a mentorship, and that kind of relationship. And then he turns it on its twisted ear. He's just so good at doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And the man he understands humanity, but then he has his eye in the darkness, you know, which is, to me, every horror fan is like that. I mean, a lot of the horror fans I meet, they're like the sweetest people in the world. You know, we just have a morbid curiosity with things, and he's so good at writing stuff like that. You know, there's more emotional weight than your typical thing, typical horror story. It's fantastic.
And I mean, it says a lot about him that you can turn a novella into a full feature film. You know what I mean? A lot of his works, a lot of his adapted films are novellas.
Yeah.
They're not full novels. So.
Right, exactly. There's just so much there.
Yeah.
There's so much there to chew on.
All right, so
that's a good choice.
What's your first one?
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get The Shining out of the way. It's not going to be in my 5, even though it's one of my top 5 movies that describe me as a horror fan. The reason I'm not going to put it on my list is because it's a horror masterpiece in and of itself, but I don't think it's the greatest Stephen King adapted film because it's very, very different from the book. So it's almost a different story. But I still think it's a masterpiece of a film. I just want to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So when people go, oh, what the hell, you guys didn't put The Shining on her? I just want to get that out of the way, okay? And I also want to pick the off the beaten path ones that I think are fantastic that maybe people didn't see or maybe younger people have forgotten about. So my first choice is John Carpenter's adapted version of Christine.
Yeah, it's such a good movie.
Yeah,
I love that
movie. It's awesome. It just tells the story of adolescence and being bullied, and that weird shit that everyone goes through when you start going into high school and you're trying to find your cool and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It depicts it so well. Keith Gordon, I mean, he carries the movie as Arnie. He has this kind of nervous quality. That actor has that nervous quality intrinsically.
Yeah.
And I think it really, really works.
He's really good in that role.
Yeah, it's great because as the character, becomes more and more dark, you're still with him. You're still hoping for him, So basically it tells a story about Arnie, and he's this kind of young, nerdy kid. I think he's a freshman in high school, and he's getting bullied hardcore. And in the book, it's even more hardcore. But in the film, it's still pretty brutal. And And then he figures, if he can save some money and get a car, he can get his life. I mean, God, how many teenagers have thought that?
Of course,
like, it's crazy. So he finds this old junker of a car and he restores it, and it becomes this incredible thing, and he gets all this confidence from it. But the car, it has kind of a malevolent spirit inside of it, and it sort of starts to take him over and kind of possess him and kind of turn him towards kind of this darker way. It's such a great story. The car can kind of drive itself. The car attacks anyone who threatens Arnie. The car sort of falls in love with him.
Yeah, like obsessed with him.
It's really cool.
The car plays cool music.
Yeah, and then whenever they try to destroy the car, it rebuilds itself. Like the metal kind of pops back out, and it's just super cool the way they do these effects. And it holds up to this day. It's still really amazing to see
motion?
it. I think it's like they destroy it and then play it backwards.
Oh, interesting.
But they're kind of pulling the metal in and destroying the car, and then they play it backwards. I think that's how they did it. And then they had multiple versions of the car. Well, another reason why I picked this movie to start is you have John Carpenter, at the prime of his career, and then you have Stephen King, with these first great stories. Yeah. What a potent combination. And I think the rest of my choices are like that. It's really the pairing of a great director with, Stephen King's story. I love Christine.
You have a Christine.
Yeah, I kind of do. Well, it's not really a Christine. It's not really an old car, but I have a mini Roadster. And
you treat it like Christine.
No, the thing is, it has a rag top, so I can't take it through a automatic drive-through. So I have to wash it. And I'm not really a car guy, so when people saw me washing my own car, they're like, "What the hell?" Yeah, and my sister-in-law said, "Oh, it's like Christine." So now I call her Christine as well.
She's totally Christine.
So, but she's black and silver, so she's. But yeah, that movie is great. It still holds up to this day. Definitely. It's fantastic.
It's a really good movie. I think it's a really good date movie too.
You know what? I'll tell you right now. Young people, if you haven't seen these movies, I'm going to tell you which two movies to watch back to back. Okay? Watch Christine, John Carpenter's Christine, and then right after, watch Carrie, Brian De Palma's Carrie. They're almost brother and sister films. Like, that's a really good double bill right there. But yeah, I got to go with that for my first choice.
That's awesome. Okay, so my next one is Firestarter with Drew Barrymore.
Oh yeah,
I love Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, she's
from
day one. That woman has been a great actress.
Yeah, so it was made in 1984. The director is Mark Lester. And in case you don't know anything about the story, this couple, they become a couple in the future, but when they were children, they are participating in experiments and mysterious experiments, like weird medical ones.
Yeah.
And then, of course, jump to the future, they end up together and they have a daughter, Charlie, who's played by Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And then they start to notice that she exhibits the ability...
Pyrokinesis.
Yeah, pyrokinesis, the ability to set fires with her mind.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that the mom is played by none other than Heather Locklear.
Oh, wow.
I know, so funny. And David Keith's in it, George C. Scott, Martin Sheen, Art Carney. So there's a lot of really good actors in it.
Yeah, and again, doing the whole creepy kid thing is tricky.
I love creepy kids.
It's real tricky. You have to have the right actress, the right actor. And she has that intensity. And now, it's so funny because when you see Drew Barrymore do interviews, she's like so sweet and bubbly and just, but she's done some pretty intense roles.
But that's what I like about her role in this movie, because she's still a sweet kid.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that duality.
It's that Stephen King formula.
Their
humanity.
Their family is really sweet and loving, and she's just a kid, but she just has this power that she doesn't even quite know how to control.
Yeah, this is why Stephen King is a national treasure, because he's like horror fans. He has a warmth and a goodness, but he just likes the dark stuff. He likes staring into the abyss like all of us. So, he's great. He's great. And that film is really cool.
I love that film. I think it's cool. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. And if you haven't seen it in a while, like I haven't seen it in a while, I would love to see it again.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Cool.
So, your turn.
Okay, so my number 2 has to be The Dead Zone.
Nice. That's a good one.
I mean,
I'd forgotten that was a Stephen King.
How can you possibly go wrong? It's a great story. You've got Christopher Walken in the middle of his early dramatic career. He's a fantastic dramatic actor. And then you've got David Cronenberg directing it. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's a fantastic, fantastic film. It's one of those films that it's sort of like what people tell me about Shawshank Redemption. They always say, if Shawshank Redemption is on TV, I have to watch the whole thing. And I agree with it. It's not really a horror film, but I agree. I like that film too.
Great film.
But this one, oh my God, I have to watch all of Dead Zone all the way through, because I love it. It's intrinsically creepy. It's very subtle. It's provocative. The story is, sad.
Yeah.
So basically, it's about a man who's about to get married, and he gets in this freak car accident, and he's in a coma for, I think, like 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
And when he comes out of the coma, his fiancée is already married and has a child.
Like, she totally moves on.
Yeah, she was like, dude, I'm sorry. I thought you weren't going to come back. And so you've got that story, the emotional elements of that story, very heartfelt. But then as he comes back, he starts to realize that he has the psychic ability to see the future whenever he touches anyone. And, that combination is so great.
Yeah.
What's cool about what Cronenberg does, the moments where, and really Walken, he really sells this, the moments where he sees those visions, he looks like it's painful to him, like it's shocking, and like he's really tortured by this ability.
Well, can you imagine if you don't, you just all of a sudden have that ability?
Yeah, it's great. And then Walken at that time, he's kind of tall and lanky, and he's almost alien. He almost has a David Bowie quality.
Yeah.
And he's such a great choice, and he really sells this role.
Oh yeah. It's
so great. And there's a couple of really shocking moments in that movie. In a weird way, this movie is like a dark superhero movie, because he's thwarting a lot of things. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And then in the final scenes of the story, like the climactic scenes, he has to make a choice that is brutal, like a brutal choice.
Horrible.
Based on what he knows, what he sees is going to happen in the future. And it's such a cool film.
Yeah.
Like, it is awesome. It is one of my absolute favorites. And it has a darkness to it.
Yeah. The relationship between him and the fiance when he...
Brooke Adams, right?
Yeah. When he comes out of the coma. Oh, so painful.
It's terrible. So painful. Sad.
Because they love each other.
Yeah,
like, even though she made the decision to move on, the love was still there.
That is the brilliance of Stephen King. And then you got David Cronenberg right in the middle of that. Oh, masterpiece. Like, such a classic. Really, you got to see it. It's an older film, but it is really well worth it.
I think it holds up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know for a fact it does. I watch it all the time. 1983. That's a 1983 film. What's your next one?
I have to go with this one because I love this movie so much, and I know we've already talked about it. But 1995's Dolores Claiborne.
Ugh.
And we already talked about it in a past
amazing
podcast episode. But it's just such a great film that just talks so much about different abuse.
Yeah.
abuse. It's really well acted with, of course, Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Great cast, great story.
Yeah.
I also read the book, and so the adaptation of it is really good. I love the book. You always say the book is better.
Well, there's just more to it, yeah.
Which, yes, because you can't put all the intricacies of a book into a film and have it 2 hours. But I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I just love this movie so much.
This movie is one of those Oscar-worthy movies. Like, it is.
Oh, yeah.
It has incredible performances by all three actresses, all three of the main actresses.
Yeah.
The story is so heavy. Like, it's emotionally really charged and a heavy film. I think it's some of Stephen King's most mature work. And then Kathy Bates. Oh my God, she is so great in this film.
Really good.
That movie, I mean, Academy Award performances. I don't think they were even nominated for anything, right? Like,
not like Oscars or anything like that. No, which is odd.
That is one of Stephen King's best adapted films. I mean, it is. The performances are amazing. Kathy Bates is amazing in this movie.
Kathy Bates is amazing. Jennifer Jason Leigh is amazing. Yeah. The detective, who's a total dick, was played by Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And then Vera, which was the older woman she took care of, was played by Judy Parfitt. She was really great too.
She is really so
good. She's
good.
Been in like Girl with a Pearl Earring and Ever After with Drew Barrymore.
She played her role flawlessly. I mean, and I think that's what's interesting about this film too, is that it's a study on women and kind of what they have to go through throughout their lives. Yeah. So it's three women, three different time periods in their lives: young woman, middle-aged woman, and a much older woman. Yeah. It is one of Stephen King's most mature work. It is an incredible masterpiece. That is such a great choice.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. So what's your next one?
I didn't plan this, but my next one is Misery.
Oh, love Misery.
Yeah.
Another great movie. And
I know we talked about it on a previous episode, but it's got to be one of my favorites. You take a director like Rob Reiner and combine him with such an amazing story with Stephen King. It's fantastic. It's interesting because there's a few books where he's done a lot of autobiographical stuff, and I'm sure the I'm your number one fan thing has come up with him in the past, and he just takes that and runs with it with this story. It's about an author named Paul Sheldon who writes these kind of romantic novels with this character named Misery, and he decides to not do that anymore, and he goes to his mountain cabin. It's kind of his writing ritual. And then he decides to write a completely different book, finishes the book, and then he heads back down during a blizzard, and he gets in a car accident. And he's found by his number one fan, a character named Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates. And this made her a star. This role made her a star. And
it was amazing.
She is incredible in this film. It is one of my absolute favorite horror films of all time. It is a masterpiece horror film.
She won an Oscar for that.
Yeah. How could she not?
Yeah, also a Golden Globe.
God, she was so good.
She was really good.
She has moments where she's so sweet, and her face and the way she smiles, and it just seems so genuine. And then she goes to these dark places in this role. Oh, man. And she is so scary in the role. And oh man, it's such a great. And she creates this fully fleshed out character, and it's such a fantastic film.
Yeah.
I mean,
really good.
Wow, it's so good. Another Oscar caliber Stephen King adapted story. There's a lot of things in what's going on in the story that I found really interesting. So in the movie you have the relationship between the sheriff, who's trying to figure out what happened to Paul Sheldon, and his wife, and they have like the sweetest sweetest relationship. Sweet. And then I really feel like Stephen King is kind of bouncing that off of what's going on with Paul Sheldon and Annie, because it's sort of a twisted marital relationship. It's such a brilliant story. Fantastic. I had to pick Misery.
Yeah, Rob Reiner, a great one.
Handled it really gently. Yeah. Great story. Like
really good.
Yeah, that's. Do you have your next one?
Good, really good choice. Yeah, yeah. So I chose this one, and I didn't read the book, or the story, and I don't remember the film being super great, but I thought the concept of the movie was really good, and that's Thinner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
1996. Director is Tom Holland. So it's about this influential lawyer who's obese.
Yeah.
And he gets distracted by his wife when they're driving, and he hits a gypsy.
Right.
And because he's so influential and this high-powered lawyer, it totally gets swept under the rug.
Yeah.
So then the victim's father puts a curse on him because they're gypsies, right? And he starts losing weight, but really rapidly.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then of course all these other horrible, events happen to him.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil those, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And so Stephen King makes a cameo in this. And then the lawyer is played by Robert John Burke, Robert John Burke. And then Carrie Wurr is Gina, who's the gypsy. Uh-huh. And the wife is played by Bethany Joy Lenz.
Yeah, I remember that film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, it wasn't like, so please, Stephen King fans, don't like roast me like a marshmallow. But I just remember it being, the concept is really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And I remember him, the actor, they was chosen really well because he was already kind of gaunt-ish.
Yeah.
So when he start to really get super thin and gross, like, yeah, it's kind of a horrible thing. At first, he thinks he's all that.
Yeah, it's such a great, it's a great play on class warfare and all that.
Yeah,
the haves and have-nots.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I thought it was fun.
It's one of those fun ones. Don't worry, I have a fun one as well. My last one is definitely a huge fun one. But so my next choice, I gotta go with it. And I know it's an obvious choice, but it's Carrie. I love Carrie.
Oh my God.
Carrie's probably in my top 5 horror films of all time. Like,
oh yeah.
If I had to pick ones for a deserted island, Brian De Palma, fantastic. 1976. I still can't believe that it's that old because we just saw it recently and thoroughly entertaining all the way through. Sissy Spacek is perfect for the role.
She's amazing.
She does look. There's scenes where she looks really odd and awkward because she has a very unusual look. And then when she starts to blossom, you're like, yeah, she's a good-looking girl, So she can play both those roles really convincingly. But really, the main thing, she looks incredible at the end of the movie, covered in blood like that. The skeletal beauty, like just.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she knows how to show the intensity. And then the mother's performance, played by Piper Laurie. Oh my God, she is the creepiest, scariest thing in the movie. You have a girl who's the psychic who can kill everyone, and you're more scared of her mom.
So creepy.
Like, she is so terrifying in the movie. Like,
yeah.
And she depicts that obsessive religious, the woman is unhinged.
Oh my God.
She's just holding on to religion to kind of stay sane. Like, it's such an amazing performance.
Yeah.
And again, we saw it recently and it still holds up 100%. Fantastic film. Like, it is, again, it's probably in my top 5 horror films of all time. Like,
you know what I forgot when I saw it is Amy Irving. When she I actually feel bad for her because she actually did try to do the right thing. She gets really obviously she doesn't trust her because she was mean to her, but she was trying to do a really nice thing.
What I like about the way Brian De Palma shoots that, he shoots it with a lot of intrigue, so you're not quite sure.
I was sure. Because when they're throwing the tampons at her, And Betty Buckley, who plays Rita, the PE teacher, gym teacher, whatever, counselor.
Yeah.
When she yells at them, her reaction, Amy Irving, who plays Sue's reaction is like, "Oh God, that was really mean."
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like it snapped her out of it, which prompted her to.
I think what I'm trying to say is that it kind of ping pongs between you're seeing Amy Irving and then what she's trying to do for Carrie, and then what Nancy Allen.
Yeah, and her name was Chris in the movie.
You know, like she's doing the mean stuff, and it kind of ping pongs. So you're not really, you get a little confused by it. And I think that's Brian De Palma right there. I think he's trying to make you, a little disoriented, and it's so elegantly shot. It's a fantastic film. I love it. Again, it's like like when he works with Carpenter. You take someone like Stephen King and his story, and then you take Brian De Palma. Such a great combination. Those films still hold up to this day. Amazing.
Yep. I love Carrie's a great movie. Watch it. So my next pick is, and this may ruffle some feathers.
Okay.
Because it is It, but it's the remake of It.
Oh, okay.
So 2017, obviously, Andres Muschietti was a director. Bill Skarsgård plays It, and then it has a bunch of the kid cast is really good. Sophia Lillis, Finn Wolfhard, Jaden Lieberher. I really liked.
I enjoyed it as well
a lot.
Yeah,
and I thought Bill Skarsgård as It.
I'm telling you, this guy's a new horror.
It was pretty amazing.
This guy's a new horror guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because I remember we were watching the Stephen King series, and he is so creepy in that movie, in the series. I'm like, this guy's got it.
Yeah.
He understands horror. He understands creepiness. Honestly, I think he's why I agree with you. I think he knows what it is to be a thing of horror.
Absolutely.
And that's not common.
No.
Unfortunately.
And that could fall apart really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against the original cast of the original It or anything like that.
Tim Curry's a god to me.
We love Tim Curry.
Oh my God. In Legend, amazing.
Yeah. Tim Curry's amazing.
It's just, you know what it is? All right, people. When something's held to a television series, you have the limits of TV.
Right.
You have the censors. So, you know how we are as horror fans. We want a little more teeth. And I think this film really delivers.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an interview with the director, and he had all these grand ideas of how he was going to depict it.
Yeah.
The larger head, a little more childlike, the buck teeth, the stray eye. Like those are all things he brought to it. And I think it worked.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to part 2, the adult story.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad it did really well too. So, because I thought it was good too. So that's a good choice.
I really liked it. So I'm sorry. I hope I didn't ruffle any feathers. But, if you're a fan of Stephen King and even of the It book and movie.
Oh, the book's great. Yeah.
I need to read the book. I embarrassingly have not read the book, so I definitely want to read it.
It kind of suffers from I got to wrap this up. You know how sometimes he wraps up his story in one chapter. Anyway, it's great. It's a great film. Okay, so my last choice is my schlockiest choice, but I still love it. Is Creepshow.
Yeah, that's a fun one though. Creepshow's fun.
The reason I gotta go with Creepshow is because it's how I think King is showing how much of a horror fan he is. It's his nod to EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt and all that stuff. And I worshipped those comics when I was a kid. Like I absolutely loved horror comics. I felt like they were being made just for me because I draw. So I would just look at these these illustrations and be like, oh God, I just want to draw people getting their heads cut off as well. Like, I just love that stuff. And then when I saw Creepshow, I'm like, wow, like this is such a nod to that stuff. And it's so fun and spirited. And do you know who directed that movie?
Who?
George A. fucking Genius Romero.
Really? Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it's like,
and I think that that's what I liked also about Creepshow is the way it was shot, like the way the comic book pages come to life and all that.
It's so funny because it's
really cool.
I remember watching Dick Tracy, and they did that in Dick Tracy, but I didn't. For some reason, I thought it was cheesy. And this is, yes, it's campy, but it works because it still has edge.
Yeah,
there's still an edge there, you know.
Yeah,
and some of the makeup and practical effects are really cool and fun, like horror fun.
And Stephen King made a cameo.
Yeah, he's in the second segment. I love him in that. It's fun to see him in that. You know,
he's like the Stan Lee.
Again, it's one of the campier sequences, but it's still fun to see.
We saw it kind of recently again.
Yeah,
it was fun. It's fun
really
movie.
Fun. It's got the camp for sure.
Another good.
And I like the sequels
movie.
too. So again, I'm a big EC Comics guy, so it's cool seeing that come to life. And then you've got the series that Greg Nicotero is doing for Shudder. I'm so excited about that. I'm really looking forward to that. And supposedly they're gonna do some Stephen King stories.
Awesome.
And some Joe Hill stories, which is Stephen King's son.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. And it'll scratch that itch that Creepshow the movie did. Mm-hmm. You know, it's fun.
Yeah. I love that. I thought it was a fun movie.
Really cool. Fun horror anthology.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're done with our top 10 great adaptations. So I have a couple honorable mentions that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, cool.
And what's interesting is that a lot of them are newer ones because a lot of the ones I picked are classics.
Yeah.
So the first one I'll go with is 1922, the Netflix original film with good. Thomas Jane. Really, really good film. It actually turned me on to the novella, and I really loved the story as well. That's one's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Really interesting film.
I liked that one a lot.
Big Driver. Also part of the same series of novellas. My God, it was a Lifetime original movie, and it was
they gave us the full-blown one, though.
It's funny because I had heard that they had done this adaptation of Big Driver, and it's a really intense story, and then I found out it was a Lifetime movie, and I'm like, oh no, because I didn't think it would have teeth, and it definitely has teeth.
Oh yeah.
So we watched it on demand, so I don't know if that's why it wasn't censored, but that movie was really, really dark. So look for that one, Big Driver, and I think it's 2018, so it's like a pretty new. The Mist, again with Thomas Jane. I thought that was really good. The ending is incredible. That's a fantastic one. And one more, Gerald's Game.
Oh yeah, that was
the Netflix
okay.
original. Yeah, that was really good.
That was okay.
Also a really interesting story. So I feel like the adaptations are there's some good ones coming out, and he's always writing, so there's always new stuff coming out. Cool. I think we're done with the film adaptations.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good job.
Yeah.
And now, our feature review.
Okay, Reyna, it's time for this week's feature review.
Which is?
2019 remake of Pet Sematary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and read the synopsis for this.
Okay, so Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife, Rachel, relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. It's directed by Kevin Kolch and Dennis Widmeyer.
Yeah, those guys directed Starry Eyes, that one independent horror film. Mm-hmm. So when I found out they were doing this, I was really excited and looking forward to it. Go ahead.
Awesome. Okay. And then the cast is Jason Clarke, who plays Lewis, Amy Schmeiss, which plays Rachel, John Lithgow, which plays their neighbor Judd, Jette Lawrence, which plays Ellie, and Hugo Lavoie, who plays Gage.
Okay, cool.
And Lucas Lavoie. There were twins that played Gage.
Yeah. Okay, so listeners, we're going to do the same thing we did last week with us. We're going to review the film, and we're going to keep it vague. We're going to tell you what we thought of it. We're not going to spoil anything. And then we're going to sound off the spoiler alarm, and then we're going to go deep, deep, deep into the film and speak about it more with spoilers there. So, are you ready to start?
I'm ready.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it?
I didn't. I'm really disappointed. I was really excited to see it because I don't watch trailers, as you all know.
Yeah.
But what I did see, and then Stephen King spoke out and said that he really liked the movie. I was really excited to see it.
Yeah.
I do think the actor that played the dad has kind of a creepy vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I was really excited to see it. I was really looking forward to it. We saw the original Pet Sematary movie in the theater as well. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't horrible.
Right.
It was okay.
Right. I think, it's funny because these two guys coming in to direct the film, like if you see their movie Starry Eyes, there's a lot of renegade energy in it. Like they're rough and tumble independent filmmakers. And I thought, oh, if these guys get, some money behind them and they have a great property like this, I thought they were going to do some really spirited things. And I think they tried. Tried. They changed a few things to try and give it that spirit and freshness. Flip it around a little. But I'm telling you, it has been a while since I've seen a horror movie with this dull glaze on it like this film has. Like there's something about it. It's like, even though you see these moments of horror, it's just, there's something dull about the film.
Yeah.
Like it lacks spirit.
It does. I mean, I don't there just wasn't any cringe-worthy, need to look away, oh my God. Like there was none of that in there. It was very mechanical.
Yeah. It was a very mechanical. It almost felt like it was designed by committee. When that happens, they all pick the ideas that offend everyone in the room the least. So then you're left with kind of a bunch of dull ideas. It sort of feels that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It definitely did feel that way.
For those listeners who know the original story and know, the first film, there are key things that they've changed in the movie. And I'll keep it vague. I think you can kind of tell what they are just based off the movie poster.
And the trailer.
And the trailer, of course. The trailers spoil everything. But I don't think those changes improve anything, really.
No.
And I think some of the choices they went for the I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible. For how the threats perform are particularly kind of hokey. They just don't work. And if you've read the book is pretty heavy. Like it's emotionally heavy. Like it's
concept's very heavy.
Right. It's talking about resurrection. It's talking about
grief,
faith, and just everything. And this movie just kind of tiptoes around that and never gets into the meat of it and the heart of it. And again, it's just kind of dull all the way through. And I was so disappointed by that.
Yeah. I mean, even the resurrections were boring. Like there wasn't, you didn't feel like a real threat. You didn't feel any creepiness. You didn't feel any fear really for the family.
Right.
Not really.
You know what? The biggest statement I can make with my review is I was looking at my watch. I was waiting for this movie to end. And in the climactic scenes, I was waiting for the movie to end.
Yeah.
And I'm a horror psycho. Like, I love horror movies.
Yeah.
But when
me
when
too.
I'm sitting through a movie like this and I'm like, if this was a Netflix film, I probably would have turned it off. Like, it was, unfortunately, it just pains me to say this, but unfortunately, it just was not very good. It lost its way.
Yeah, it did. It lost its way.
Yeah.
It's really too bad.
Yeah. So for me, I wouldn't recommend seeing it in the theater. I think, and even more so, to not go in the theater, it sends a clear message to Hollywood that we want stuff, this is a horror renaissance. The bar has been raised.
Yeah.
We just saw Us. It is spectacular. The ideas are great. It's spirited. It's scary. It's super entertaining. That's the bar now. If you want us to go to the theater to watch horror movies, the bar is higher. I'm sorry, but it is.
No, it is. And also, I feel like horror movies get such bad raps.
Yep.
And good horror movies get horrible reviews. It's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie by critics gets good reviews.
Yeah. Well, they did all the buzz, the early buzz. That's what got me excited. Ooh, there were all these, the scariest adaptations since, I don't know. I
don't know what movie they went to go see.
And then I read something online that Stephen King is notorious for saying a movie adaptation is good in the first few months. And then later on, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's garbage," because he has a financial interest in the film.
Of course.
That kind of bugs me because I had heard that he thought it was amazing. So I was very excited to see this movie.
You didn't tell me that part. That's why I was excited to see it.
No, I just found that out.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it just.
Okay, so so my review is don't go see it in a theater. I wouldn't even rent it digitally.
I wouldn't rent it.
I would wait for it to get on a pay channel that you just get it by default or Netflix
or Prime.
Yeah, it was that poor.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So we both agree with that. Let's move on to the spoiler zone.
But tell us what you think. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Always tell us what you think. If you liked it, tell us what did we miss, or if you agree with us, whatever. We always want to hear from you.
Yeah, we're always wanting to start a dialogue. That's why we started the show. So let's do the spoiler warning because we're going to go deep diving into why we think this movie was so poor. Do it.
Beware. Spoilers ahead.
Okay, so, oh my God, there's like a laundry list of things that just went wrong with this film, unfortunately. So, do you want to start?
Sure. I thought it was interesting that they switched the kid that got resurrected.
Right.
But even when the truck hit her, I don't know. I mean, it was like, oh no, you knew it was coming, right? Because if you've seen Pet Sematary, Verena, you know it's coming.
That part was so cheesy.
But I don't even think there was blood.
Yeah. So everyone who's here with us now, you've seen the film. So the scene where they trick you into thinking that Gage is going to get run over, and
that's true. I forgot about that part.
And what's the little girl's name again?
Ellie.
Ellie gets run over instead.
On her birthday.
It's kind of dopey because, again, in the trailer and in the movie poster, you see the girl, so you kind of know what's going to happen. So there's no effect there, and even the effect is really dorky. The only thing I really liked in this movie was the cat.
Aww.
I thought the cat was amazing, and I'll tell you why. It wasn't bullshit CG. It was a cat with like mangy hair extensions.
Yeah.
And the scene where the dad sees him for the first time, sees the resurrected church for the first time in the closet, his face is priceless. Like my cat, we have a cat, his name's Taboo. He makes these sly little faces.
He does.
And I was like, oh my God, how did they get this cat to make that specific sly face right then and there? The cat was amazing.
It was probably the best actor in the film.
Oh, that's me. That's
No,
me.
I'm just kidding.
The actors in the movie are okay.
No, they're actually good.
It's just I think what they're trying
the dad
to
was
do.
really good.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is off. You know?
Just wasn't scary. I mean, I think the scariest thing was the anticipation of the kid getting run over. Other than that,
it goes beyond not being scary. It was just clumsy. Like everything is.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done so much more. Like when the kids are doing the procession with those creepy masks.
Yeah.
Like that started like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is cool. But then it never went anywhere.
And right. It was just more of a visual moment, like an MTV, just like a totally flash moment. Yeah.
I'm sorry if you're a parent with your kid in the woods and these creepy kids.
Yeah.
In dated clothing, by the way.
Yeah.
Came through with those masks.
Right.
In a procession. The fuck.
Yeah.
But it just never amounted to anything.
Maybe they're implying with the dated clothes. Maybe they're implying that they were ghosts or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, let's talk about how they use Zelda in the movie. The mother has memories of her sister who had a spinal disease. It's all from the book, and it's also in the original film.
Yeah.
And they use it as this huge phobia that she has. Like she's always hearing her, and I thought that was so cartoony.
That was weird.
And I get it. I could see how. I'm sure these guys were all in a pitch meeting or in a story meeting, and they're going, "Yeah, well, Zelda was the scariest thing in the original movie," which she sort of was. I know for people who love the original film, they say that, but the way they use her here is just it's superficial, and then you never really get to see her.
No.
So it's like dangling this carrot, and then it's really unsatisfying, and it makes the mother seem really weak, like a weak parent.
Yeah.
And then they're going, oh, we'll see if she's really scared of Zelda, and then her daughter comes back. It's like she's singing Zelda again. Like, it just was hokey. It didn't work. It
didn't
fell
work.
apart.
Yeah, I didn't find her. At first, I was like, okay, this might be cool.
Yeah, I was like, cool.
And then the whole concept of like the dumbwaiter and all that stuff could have been really cool.
Yeah.
And then when she falls in the dumbwaiter and all that, it was like, oh, okay.
And what's interesting is that in the original Pet Sematary movie, the person that plays Zelda is a 20-year-old man.
Really?
In makeup. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And in the book, she's young. She's like a 12-year-old girl.
Right.
And something like that, 12, 14, around there. So I was glad to see that they did go with a younger actress to be Zelda.
Yeah.
But you never saw her clearly enough. Like she was always in the shadows. So you didn't get the full effect of her. You just had kind of the ghost of her throughout the film. It just didn't work.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all, unfortunately.
Okay, let's talk about Victor Pascal. Same sort of thing. So in the book, it's important what happens, where he gets run over he's on his bike, he gets run over, and he's really gory and all that. And the father starts seeing him. In this movie, it's so wooden.
He's clean gory. Do you know what I mean?
There's something about it that just doesn't have the same level of impact.
The makeup's there, I guess, but it's clean gore. Like he's not really gory. Like I don't even remember seeing blood again.
You know what it is? Victor Pascal in the original film, he's kind of shaky, and there's something neurotic about his behavior. And in this movie, the actor that plays Victor Pascal, he's kind of just wooden and kind of stoic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just didn't seem, it didn't quite work. It felt dull. Like there was a glaze over it.
Again, it was sterile. Like it was there was no, like when you see him, he wasn't scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't like, ooh, this guy's coming. Ooh, that's gross that he's seeing him.
Right. And I feel it's almost like if you see a ghost and you're like, oh, that ghost could possibly And in the book, he's supposed to be friendly. He's kind of warning him, but you should still get the fear of that,
Well,
right?
yeah, like, it's
but
creepy.
you don't. But you
No.
don't in this film. I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't work. So the big change where they decide to not run over Gage, and they run over the daughter instead, Ellie. I had heard that the reason they decided to do that is because they wanted her to talk about the experience. And Gage,
Too young.
he's too young, so he doesn't really. He comes back, he doesn't talk much at all. So he's kind of, he's kind of weird, creepy kid. And so they wanted to take the opportunity to have someone come back that could talk. So those scenes where he's talking to his daughter after she's come back, the dialogue is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is a completely lost opportunity. The little girl does not behave strangely.
No, at all.
Okay, so...
She's not creepy.
Right. She's just kind of... She's like, "Ooh, I'm being creepy." Like, there's...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you compare this performance to the kids in Us.
Yeah. No.
And the kids are behaving weirdly. Like the looks they're giving you,
Yeah.
the physicality of Pluto, the little boy. Like there's a spirited creepiness to the performance. There is no spirited.
No. Even when she's dancing, it was ridiculous, and she's like flinging stuff off.
It's so forced.
It was weird. It was all weird. I don't know.
Forced and hokey. What I'll compare it to? I'll compare it to the performance of Danny in the original Shining. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the performance of Danny in the miniseries Shining.
Yeah.
That little boy that plays him in the miniseries, there's nothing creepy about him.
No.
There's nothing haunted about his look. The way he delivers his lines, he's completely forgettable.
Yeah.
Now the original boy, that plays Danny. I always
remember Danny.
You see it in his eyes that he has something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably why they picked him.
Definitely.
And his performance is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's that different. Like this girl is trying her best to be creepy, but it's just
yeah.
You could put her in a little witch costume, and it would be a comedic scene. You'd be like, "Oh yeah, she's acting like a creepy little witch."
Yeah.
There's nothing creepy about her performance, unfortunately. And if that's falling apart, then the entire film is not working.
Even John Lithgow was kind of flat.
Kind of flat. Yeah. And he's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah.
And then my biggest one I kept bitching about afterwards was the way the father-in-law of the doctor guy was giving him like dirty looks at the funeral. Right. And it's like, okay, why is he doing that? They never established that they've had a problem in the past, that the dad doesn't like him.
Right.
That the parents were bitter because he moved the family away, far away or whatever.
Yeah.
He was just, and you're like, what an ass. His kid just died. He's being an asshole, Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I have a real problem with, you read the book, and one of the things I read was Stephen King doesn't like the book because he feels that it was too cynical. The ending is too cynical. And if you've watched the original film, it's pretty much ends like that in the book, where the father has completely unhinged. He is in so much grief that he starts to go insane. In this movie, the ending is like, it's cheeseball.
Super cheeseball.
And you don't...
Cheese.
There's key moments where in the book you start to realize that he is unhinged, and he's going through the motions of doing what he feels he needs to do, but he is He's lost it. He's emotionally lost it.
You don't get that in this film.
You don't get that in this film.
No, not at all.
You don't get that in this film, unfortunately, because I think the performances are so wooden, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I think they were directed to be that way. There's good actors in this film. It's just, it just is so dull and wooden. And again, I was looking at my watch, which broke my heart, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Boo missed its mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very disappointed. Because, again, I love Stephen King.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm with you. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think we're done. I don't want to be like bashing this.
I know.
This movie.
But you guys tell us what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
So did you enjoy talking about Stephen King on this episode?
I love Stephen King.
Yeah,
So yeah,
he's awesome.
he's a genius.
And he's so prolific. Like it's crazy. Like he's constantly writing. He's constantly some of the newer stuff. Like I just read Finders Keepers and I really loved it. Revival is really good too. And those are on the newer side. I mean, the guy is just...
No, I need to catch up to you.
The guy is so great.
You've been reading a lot of Stephen King.
Yeah, it's awesome. So all our social media is up now.
Yay.
Like everywhere we're going to be, everywhere we're going to engage with people, it's all up. So let's go over it one more time.
Yeah.
So on Facebook, we're Facebook / The Date Night Horror Show, all one thing. You can interact with us there. You can follow us there.
Leave questions, your favorite movie, maybe something we should watch or review.
Yeah, and we're always sharing stuff, even aside from our episodes, where we share cosplay pictures and little articles of things we found on the internet that are interesting, horror related. On Instagram, we're at Date Night Horror Show. The only thing missing is so Date Night Horror Show, all one thing. I post a lot on there because I actually like engaging with the horror community there. It's really fun. I follow a lot of other horror podcasts because I think there's more than enough room for all of us to hang out. And I'm a horror podcast fan, so I'm always looking for other horror podcasts as well.
Yeah.
So Instagram, again, Date Night Horror Show, without the. And then on Twitter, it's at date_horror. And again, I'm trying to engage with that community as well because I'm finding it really fun.
Help us out. Engage with us.
Yeah, so, look for us there. And we respond to every comment because, again, we're trying to start a horror family, of people that, we can kind of interact with and kind of learn what movies they like. And that's kind of the whole premise
and discover new movies that maybe we haven't seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you absolutely hate social media and you don't want to do that stuff, okay, you can go to thedatenighthorrorshow.com and that has all our episodes. There's even a cool cosplay makeup art gallery that I'm adding there. And you can see photographs of us in various horror costumes because we do that all the time. And we're going to expand that as we go. And every episode that we do, it's going to go up there the night it posts. So if you just do not like any of that social media stuff, you can follow us there and you can listen there and all that. As far as where the podcast is, we're on iTunes, we're on Castbox, we're on TuneIn, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spreaker, Spotify. We're pretty much everywhere where you would expect a podcast to be. And one big final pro tip, if you have an Amazon Alexa activated device, you can just say, Alexa, play the Date Night Horror Show podcast.
That's so cool.
And it'll play the most recent episode. So if you've fallen behind and you want to listen to the show, just have Alexa play it for you and she'll go from the latest down all the way through.
So easy.
Super easy, super fun. When I realized that worked, once we got into TuneIn Network, it started working. I was like, oh, that's so easy.
Super cool. I love that. Cool.
And, if you have a good Alexa device, the show sounds really good on it as well because there's bass.
Yeah. And please feedback. We want to hear from you. Want to, know if you love our podcasts, and again, suggest movies and
what segments you like.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I've always said, I've always told you, is that our show will never be a roll out of bed and do a podcast show. We're going to produce it. We're going to improve the music. We're going to get voice announcing, and we want to have the most current horror films that everyone's talking about.
You want it to be fun to listen to.
Yeah, and that's why we decided to do the Stephen King episode. That way we could do the Pet Sematary review as well. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Scare you later.
Bye-bye.
The Date Night Horror Show is written and produced by Enzo and Reyna. All music written and produced by Enzo. Follow the show on Facebook.com/The Date Night Horror Show. Find Enzo and Reyna online at TheDateNightHorrorShow.com.